Over the past 12 months, I have been creating YouTube videos, so I thought I would let you in on my journey so far and how I make these videos. So I'll be covering the camera, the lighting, and the audio setups that I use in these videos. Anyway, let's dive into today's video where I'll be going through my YouTube beginner's setup. Okay, first up, let's talk about the camera. So the camera that I use for my YouTube videos mainly is the Sony AX7 III, I think. This was a pretty expensive camera and cost me around, I think it was £1,000 or £1,200. The reason I picked this camera was because I watched a lot of YouTube review videos, and this camera came out at the top a lot of the time. Now, you don't have to spend this much money on a camera, but my thoughts were if I get a nice good camera, I probably won't have to replace it for a very long time. So this bad boy shoots in 4K resolution, which ensures my videos are going to be super sharp and clear. It's also got a great autofocus feature, and it performs well in low light as well. Not that I do a lot of that, but it's obviously crucial if you want to shoot at night. Of course, a great camera needs a great lens, which is why I've got a 50mm Sony lens. Sometimes you hear the nickname, people calling this the Nifty 50. Again, I did a lot of research on lenses, and this one came out as a favorite again. So it seems like it's quite versatile, and you can use this for close-up shots or portrait photography. I did do a lot of research, and this lens seems to be very popular, and given my budget, I couldn't afford 4 or 5 different lenses, but this one seems fairly versatile, and at some point I do need to get a wider angle lens, so something like a 17 to 35mm lens for photography if I'm doing properties or real estate or Airbnbs or whatever it is I'm doing. And with that wide angle lens, it's going to help me pick up a lot more of the landscape. So I'll probably end up having to switch between the 50mm for close-ups and details and things like that, and then swap out to a wider angled lens if I'm going to do, like I said, property or landscapes or travel. I do like to use my iPhone as well sometimes, as this can be a little bit easier just to point and shoot if I don't have my camera out and I'm not ready, or if I am in a confined space. Sometimes if you're filming, it can be hard to carry all your gear around, especially if you have a mic, a camera, a bag, lighting and all these other things. So sometimes, just for sake of ease, it might be easier to get 10 seconds or so on my iPhone, because sometimes that's all you need. Okay, so next up, let's talk about audio and microphones. Having a great video is all nice and well, but if the audio sucks, then you're probably not going to get people to sit through the whole video. People tend to be more forgiving on low quality images rather than the audio itself. So the mic that I use is a Rode mic, which is mounted onto the camera. It's a fantastic mic and it captures audio crystal clear. Now, this wasn't the cheapest mic out there, but the reason I went for this was because I thought it would give me a little bit more of a dynamic range when it comes to picking up audio. Once I've filmed my videos and I've captured all the audio and videos, I'll use an audio cleaner software at the end in the editing process, which helps to take out some of the background noise. This is something I would definitely recommend to use when you've done your YouTube videos in post-editing, because you don't want to hear people outside your house or in the background, or if there is maybe some kind of buzzing sound which is being picked up on camera. Now, this Rode mic wasn't the cheapest mic out there. I think it was around £300. Now, I could have gone for a lapel mic, but I wasn't too sure about a lapel mic because I thought it might make brushing sounds, and when I was doing my own research, this Rode mic seemed to be quite popular. If I really wanted to, I could probably mount it on a boom stand so I could get it closer to me and maybe pick up a little bit better audio, but it does a pretty good job mounted on the camera at the moment. Okay, so let's move on to lighting. Lighting can definitely make or break your video quality. My lighting setup is actually pretty simple, but it definitely gives me a good look in the videos. At the moment, I am using a GVM lighting setup with a softbox attached. The softbox is something that you definitely need, as that gives you that soft and even lighting on your face. And any pro will tell you that good lighting makes all the difference when you're trying to pick up a subject on camera. I've tried different lighting setups as well, whether it had it more dark or lighter, but for me, I prefer a lighter setup rather than a darker room setup. So what I do, I just have this one light on my face, which seems to light everything up nicely. And then in the background, I'll have some accent lights. And this just makes the room look a little bit more interesting and gives you a little bit more color and warmth and all that kind of good stuff. Now, I can't remember how much this GVM light cost. I think it might have been around 200 or 250 pounds, which wasn't too bad, but you can turn the brightness up or down. You can make it a warmer yellowy tone, or you can make it more of a harsher white tone. So it's pretty versatile and it's got some good settings, but as far as lighting setups go, I think this is pretty good. Okay, so let's move on to my gimbal. Now, when I'm trying to get moving shots, I rely on a gimbal. This definitely helps me to make footage look nice and smooth when I'm on the move. So there's actually 2 videos where I've had a lot of views. So this was my Emirates business class review and one that I did on a property. And I actually used the gimbal with my iPhone for a fair amount of the videos. Now, you don't need a gimbal, but it is definitely hard to try and hold a camera still because it's just going to pick up some shaking and motion. But if you can afford a gimbal, I would recommend getting one. A cheaper alternative to having a gimbal would be to have a stand, and then you can just pan around on that stand or up and down, and you can get some nice smooth shots. But I wouldn't recommend running around with a camera and a camera stand. Now, I got this gimbal when I was actually in Dubai, and I think it costs around 70 or 80 pounds. I'm not too sure because I can't remember with the conversion, but I thought it was a pretty good price. But I didn't think it was too bad a price, and it definitely elevates my video quality and gives it a more cinematic and professional look. Finally, once we have all the footage and it's all captured and filmed, it's time to edit. So let me give you some insights to the editing setup and software that I use. So over the years, I've used all kinds of different software to edit videos. I've used Windows Movie Maker, iMovie, Capwing, CapCut, Adobe Premiere Pro, Canva, I don't know, others. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of video editing software out there to try and see what works for you. Now, personally, at the moment, I like Capwing. It's actually pretty cheap and fairly easy to use, and it gets the job done. Now, I previously used to use Adobe Premiere Pro, but I just found it too complex to use, and I was putting a lot of time to try and work out how to do some decent cuts and make videos look good. But when I was making my videos, I realized I just didn't need this level of complexity. Now, I'm not out here trying to make the next Avengers film, so a nice, simple editing software does the trick for me. But what I would say is the main thing that you need to do when you're editing videos is you need to have a kind of artistic or creative view on what it is you're trying to make, essentially, in this video. So the editing style that you have is likely to come down to personal taste and the vision of what you're trying to portray in your video. And that's everything. So that's a wrap on my beginner's YouTube setup that I have. Hopefully you'll find this video and the research that I've done useful.